Welcome back to the Blue Sofa. Now, this is episode number 2 in our series on transformational leadership. Last week in episode 1, we talked about the foundational, like why your business doesn't stall because of strategy, but it stalls because the leader, you, reaches a threshold within your own leadership, within your own development. The whole point with transformational leadership is that your business will only grow to the level of leadership you can hold. And that's what we're going to dive a little bit deeper into today. And I want to ask you a question. And I'm sure you have tried this so many times before. And that is, why is it so much easier to see what other people should do and so hard to see what we need to do? Now think about it. Like, you are on a call with a peer, you're in a mastermind setting or a coaching setting or some kind of call with a client or any situation where you observe another person. And it's so easy for you to see what's going on. You can see it immediately. You can see where that person is hesitating. You can see the fear in that person. You can see the decisions she needs to make. It's so clear and it's so logical for you. And the moment you close that Zoom down or that call down and you want to look at your own business, it's just not that clear anymore. And we start to overthink. We start to delay decisions. We start to second guess what we're doing. And we keep on telling ourselves, well, I need a new course. I need more clarity. I need to hire a coach and so on and so on. And what is this actually about? And that's what we're going to dive into today because the reason it is so difficult to see in our own business and our own life is not because you're not capable. And I think this is the good news here. It's not because your ambitions are too big for you, or it's not because what you're actually trying to create here is not something that you have the capacity to do, or it's not something where you let the intelligence to do. It has nothing to do with that. It is actually your own developmental structure that simply needs to be developed. And I think that is an amazing news for everybody who's a little bit like me and like the clients I'm working with. And, honestly, like my full network of other entrepreneurs and founders, because we tend to think, well, when I reach this threshold, maybe there is nothing more for me. Maybe this is just like, have to settle. This is where I got to, right? So let me introduce you to another way of seeing this. So the thing is, we are always living inside our own meaning-making system. We can see people clearly from the outside, but we are inside of our own structure, right? We are inside of our own mind. That's why it can feel very clear to your coach what you need to do or a peer, but it's very confusing when we have to lead ourselves. And that is the core of the theory I want to introduce to you today. There's a theory in developmental psychology called adult development theory. And it is developed and expanded by a researcher called Robert Kegan, and he is working at Harvard. And the core idea here is that there is a difference between when something has you and something you have. If something has you, it controls you. And if you have it, you can reflect on it. And that's development. And that's the theory I want to expand on today. So developmental psychology shows us that adults grow through stages of increasing mental complexity. Let's think about this a little bit. So we grow, we develop not from more knowledge, not from more how-to, but we grow when we need to increase our capacity. And we need to increase our capacity to hold complexity. Not all leaders and not all businesses and not all faces in businesses needs to operate at the same level of complexity. But you have to hold more complexity and match the level of complexity your business growth is requiring you to step into. If we want to explain Kegan in business language, we can say it like this. We develop as founders, entrepreneurs, leaders by moving things, like it could be decisions, it could be things we experience. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what this could be in just a moment. From being the subject, something that controls you, to object, something you can look at, you can reflect upon. So for example, if you fear judgment, so you fear, like if I step onto the stage and I say these things, I'm really afraid of being judged, then it's a subject and it controls you. That fear controls you. If you can observe the fear and still go on stage, it is an object. So it's object, and this is where we can actually grow into holding that theme, or that for example, here, the fear of judgment, we can grow into holding the complexity and capacity to actually being that situation instead of letting it control us. So Kegan says we have 3 stages when it comes to holding complexity. And we go through these 3 stages, and each stage shapes our identity. And this is where we have to grow from stage to stage to be able to hold more complexity. So let's look at the stages. And I want to invite you to, as I'm going through these stages, just listen and reflect, feel into what stage are you actually in. Okay, stage number 1 is what Kegan called the socialized mind. And this is where we are shaped by external expectations. So in business, it looks like we constantly checking if it's good enough. We are looking for others to reassure us when we make decisions. We struggle with visibility because we need validation before we actually allow ourselves to step out into the world. We overvalue feedback. So we're really afraid of getting feedback or critique because we shaped by that external expectation or that external opinion about us. And if you can see this in yourself, I want to say it's actually not a very uncommon thing. It is something this is actually a developmental stage that we all have to go through. And more often, from my perspective and from my experience being a practitioner of this field, I'm obviously not the researcher. I see that every time we have to grow, we have to check in here again. Am I actually in this socialized stage, this socialized mind where my identity is shaped by what other people believe around me or what other people expect of me? Because then I'm trapped in other people or circumstances actually controlling me. And it's almost impossible to grow when you are in this stage. It's almost impossible. Or you have to work so hard to grow here. And it's not like you can't do it, but it will require so much effort and also a lot of mental and emotional friction because you're always looking for that validation outside of you. And maybe you can see this very clear in others. And what you can ask yourself is, do I still need approval from somebody or someone to actually do the things that I inside of me know I want to do? Then it's just a stage you are in. I want to remind you about that because the whole point of transformational leadership is to understand that whenever we hit this threshold, we hit this almost glass ceiling in our business, it's not because we can't move from it. It's not because there's something wrong with us. It's actually just because we are in this. When we ask Kegan, he will say we're in stage 1 and we need to develop into stage 2. So let's talk about stage number 2. This is where you operate from your internal principles. A lot of people who have gained some momentum in business actually operates from here, because this is where you make decisions without the constant validation. You have some confidence in yourself. You know, like, this is me, this is what I want, this is what I'm gonna do. You can also tolerate disagreement. You can tolerate critique, you can tolerate feedback. It's not necessarily something that kind of destabilizes you. It's there and you can tolerate it. You can also hold your own position, so you can hold yourself because you have this inner stability within you, right? You can also build strategy without always have reassurance from others or look to others and compare yourself to others. So you can build your strategies from this internal clarity. So a lot of people who have what we call stable businesses that runs with like 10K, 20K, 30K per month, they operate from here. Now, when we want to move into a scale phase, complexity will increase a lot. And this is where we as leaders need to move into stage 3 of our development. And that's called the self-transforming mind. This is where we can examine, we can observe and reflect on things, even our own belief systems. So this is where everything become an object. So everything is an object. You're not trapped by anything. You're more like, you're able to observe, and I want to say not take things personally. So instead of thinking, oh, there's something wrong with me, or did I do something wrong, or you use a lot of like mental, emotional friction, you can actually, you are in this self-transforming mind where you observe, reflect, and adjust. So here in business, you are able to hold paradox. You can scale complexity, so you can handle way more complexity. You can even revise your own assumptions about things. So you're not like stuck in a very fixed mindset, and you don't collapse when something goes wrong. You don't collapse when you're criticized. You don't collapse when you get feedback either from a market that doesn't want to purchase your product, or clients who wanted you to do something else, or peers or colleagues who think A, B, and C about you. So this is actually where you are able to grow and scale, because your capacity for handling and holding complexity with mental and emotional ease is increased immensely. Very few people consistently operate from here, I want to say, but this is a place, like, if you're serious about growing your business, this is a place that I want to invite you to really, really practice being in as much as possible. So just to bring this back to you, here are a few questions you can ask yourself just to feel into, where are you actually in your business? Are you in stage 1, the socialized mind? Are you in stage 2, the self-authoring mind? Or are you in stage 3, the self-transforming mind? And ask yourself here. So just sit with this question. When visibility increases, what happens inside of you? Do you freak out? Or can you be in that in a calm way? Can you observe it? Can you hold your own position as visibility increases? When you are criticized, what happens inside of you? Do you retreat? Do you destabilize? Or do you hold capacity? Or do you hold your own position and your own space in that situation? When scaling feels overwhelming, do you then retreat? Do you seek reassurance? Or do you restructure and move? Do you build and move? Now, this helps us to understand exactly why that if we feel stuck in business, it might not be about strategy. It might actually be that your current developmental structure cannot hold your next level yet. And now you know that if you have reached a glass ceiling in your business, it is probably not about you needing more knowledge. It's probably about you having to learn how to hold more complexity without without retreating, and how to discern yourself from being subject, where something or someone actually owns you, controls you, and being the observer, being able to see objects. So everything become an object that you can reflect on, that you can observe without actually creating mental and emotional friction. So this means that these thresholds and these ceilings have nothing to do with what you can do. It has something to do with you actually developing. So I think that is amazing news and an amazing thing to actually be aware of when we want to grow our business. So in episode number 1, we introduced you to so just to recap here, in episode 1, we talked about the idea that your business grows on the level of leadership you can hold. So if you haven't listened to that yet, I highly recommend doing that again and just, reframing the whole conversation. I highly recommend going back and starting there so you can frame the whole conversation, because it lays the foundation for everything we're building in this series. Next week, we're gonna go even deeper, because this is where we talk about why we actually block ourselves, why we unconsciously protect our current level. So in this episode, we understood we have to go through these phases, these stages to hold more complexity. Next time, we're going to talk about why we unconsciously protect that stage. And we're gonna do that by exploring something that is called immunity to change. You can learn more about why we block ourselves and what we can do to move out of our own way. So for now, I want to leave you with this. What in your business right now feels emotionally charged? Can you observe it? Or is it still controlling you and observing you? Because that's where your next level actually begins. So I'm very excited to share the next episode with you. See you in the next episode.